Imagine, just for a second, a small kid kicking a ball around the dusty streets of Rosario, Argentina. We're not talking about massive floodlit stadiums or, multi-million dollar training facilities today. We are looking at a tough, working class neighborhood where literally nobody outside a 5-block radius knew this boy's name. I am so pumped to take you through this explainer today because this is a story that goes way, way beyond sports. It's a deep dive into what actually happens when a truly extraordinary gift collides with an absolutely unbreakable will. We're decoding the journey of Lionel Andres Messi, a boy whose family couldn't even come close to buying his path to greatness, but who gave him the 3 things that mattered most: time, love, and a football. His story kicks off with incredibly humble roots. He grew up in a really close-knit family. His dad, Jorge, was a factory steelworker, and his mom, Celia, worked part-time cleaning houses just to help make ends meet. So right off the bat, this wasn't a family with wealth or VIP connections. Little Leo, as they called him, essentially turned the streets and backyards of his neighborhood into his own personal Wembley Stadium. His first coach? Just his dad. His first opponents? His 2 older, bigger, and much faster brothers. And yet even back then, he was just better. And that raw backyard talent quickly transitioned into something you just couldn't ignore. At barely 4 years old, he joins his local club, Grandoli. By age 6, he takes this massive step into structured training with Newell's Old Boys, which is one of the biggest clubs in Rosario. He instantly became the focal point of their youth team, a squad they actually called the Machine of '87. I mean, they were so dominant they became local legends before they even hit middle school. Messi was always the smallest kid on the pitch, but he was completely untouchable. He'd just be smiling, dribbling past entire teams, and leaving all the parents completely speechless. But then things changed. Section 1. The Shadow of Diagnosis. When the dream almost ended. When Messi was just 10 years old, his family got some truly devastating news. Doctors diagnosed him with a growth hormone deficiency. This condition was literally stunting his physical development, making him noticeably smaller than every other kid his age. And the treatment? It wasn't just swallowing a daily pill. It required intense, painful injections of artificial growth hormone every single night, administered straight into his own legs. But the physical pain was only half the battle, because the crushing weight of this diagnosis came with a devastating price tag: $1,000 every single month. Think back to where we started this explainer, right? A father in a steel factory, a mother cleaning houses. For them, $1,000 a month wasn't just expensive, it was an impossible sum. So the family desperately scrambled for funding. Newell's Old Boys stepped up initially and agreed to help pay for the treatments, but after just 2 years, the money dried up. Even River Plate, which is one of Argentina's absolute heavyweights, expressed serious interest in signing this prodigy, but even they couldn't justify shouldering that kind of ongoing financial burden. The family was totally out of options. It really truly seemed like the dream was over before the world even got to see him play, until a desperate phone call from Spain changed the course of history. Section 2. The Napkin Contract. A 13-year-old's leap of faith across the world. So, FC Barcelona had been hearing these wild rumors about this extraordinarily gifted yet extraordinarily tiny boy over in Argentina whose family was in desperate need of medical funding. They bring 13-year-old Messi over to train. A Barcelona director watches him for just a few minutes, and that was all it took. He saw something he had literally never seen before. But he had no official paperwork on hand, so in a moment of sheer panic and urgency, he grabs a paper napkin from the club cafeteria and scribbles the terms of the deal right there on the spot. That flimsy napkin committed the club to funding his treatments and instantly became one of the most valuable documents in the history of sports. But the fierce contrast of his new life in Spain was just staggering. On the pitch, an absolute beast. He was scoring 21 goals in just 14 games for Barcelona's junior team, basically destroying any defense put in front of him. Yet quietly, off the pitch, he was still going home and injecting that growth hormone into his legs every single night. The physical struggle was immense, but his performance? It never wavered for a second. Which leads us to Section 3, the rise to greatness, breaking records, breaking barriers. Once he found his footing, he rose through the professional ranks at a blistering pace. Step 1, he makes his first team debut at just 16 years old. Step 2, in the 2004-05 season, at barely 17, he becomes the youngest official player and goal scorer in Spanish La Liga history. And Step 3, the very next year, he's already helping FC Barcelona lift the Champions League trophy. He was the youngest, he was the smallest, and yet he was already the absolute best player on the field. And that rock-solid foundation of excellence ultimately led to this incredible number, 8. 8 Ballon d'Or awards. For context, this is the highest individual honor in the sport, and he has won it more times than any other player in the entire history of football. No one else is even close. His career literally defies description. Beyond those 8 Ballon d'Ors, he amassed an absolute mountain of La Liga titles, Champions League trophies, and Copa del Rey victories. He looked at records that seemed mathematically impossible, shattered them, and then went ahead and broke his own records again. But what is truly staggering here, and honestly the biggest takeaway for all of us, is that at the dead center of this hurricane of unprecedented global fame, he remained the exact same humble, quiet kid from the dusty streets of Rosario. He kept that exact same pure joy in his eyes whenever the ball was at his feet. But there was a catch. Section 4, the missing piece, the haunting absence of the World Cup. The World Cup. For years and years, this was the great unanswered question looming over his legacy. After 4 separate tournaments resulting in 4 agonizing, heartbreaking disappointments, the entire world was wondering, could the greatest player of his generation ever win the one single trophy required to finally silence the critics? Everyone assumed that at 35 years old, the 2022 tournament in Qatar would be his absolute last chance, the final roll of the dice. And in 2022, he finally did it. Argentina won the World Cup for the first time since 1986. Messi, at long last, held the one piece of gold that had eluded him his entire career. Just to put that into perspective, his World Cup journey spans an incredible 6 FIFA World Cups across 20 years. That makes him one of only 2 players in history to achieve this feat by 2026. Think about that arc, from a nervous, floppy-haired teenager in Germany in 2006, all the way to a veteran legend taking a final bow at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And that unparalleled 2-decade longevity allowed him to move into second place all-time with a staggering 21 career World Cup goals. His legacy on the global stage was permanently, undeniably cemented. Section 5, the meaning of Messi, an extraordinary gift meets an unbreakable will. So, what does it all mean? Well, the meaning is found right here, in the man behind those astronomical statistics. He's married to his childhood sweetheart, Antonella Rocuzzo. He's a devoted father to 3 sons, Thiago, Matteo, and Ciro. He is still playing, still scoring, but ultimately, he is still just the boy from Rosario. It proves that his core character never shifted, even as the entire world around him totally transformed. As we wrap up, we're left with this stunning contrast. On one hand, a working-class 10-year-old boy told by doctors his body was failing him, completely unable to afford the medical treatment he needed to grow. And on the other hand, the undisputed greatest footballer who has ever lived. Some stories are too extraordinary to be fiction. Messi's story is one of them. When you really stop and consider the medical hurdles, the massive sacrifices, and the relentless, suffocating pressure he faced, what does a journey like that tell you about the true limits of human willpower?